Let's wait for cabinet to settle down. Jonathan, are we good? Provincial Secretary, we're good. Did you notice Jonathan's shoelaces? Huh?
Great, match the tie.
Hey, they match the tie. All right. Steve and I had a conversation earlier this week, and my office has been speaking to him. He's got a couple of personal issues that he brought to our attention, and we decided this probably wasn't the right time for him to go into cabinet. He's a great guy and a wonderful member of the team, and I know that we'll be able to work together and resolve some of this in the future, but for the moment, this is where we are.
Why this week, I guess, after you named the cabinet?
Well, it's when we had the opportunity to have some conversations, and he brought some information to our attention, and we decided this was the best way to go.
Is there anything his constituents should be aware of?
I'll let Stefan give you some background on that.
What's the nature of the personal issues?
I'm going to let Stefan give you some background on that.
Premier, you said that you're going to balance the budget. When is that going to happen?
Well, we're committed to doing that. You know that we have put in place a results-based budgeting process, that we've continued to keep public sector salaries at a sustainable rate. It's our goal. We'll see as we move through third and fourth quarter and move into the next budget exactly what our prospects are, but we're committed to doing that.
You can't commit to next year?
Not yet.
Premier, that you have about half your caucus now in cabinet. Your opponents are saying that's not living within your means. What do you say to that?
Well, you know, the opposition is always very quick to come up with short solutions to larger issues, and I'm not at all surprised by these quips. I'm really proud of the new people that we brought into cabinet. They're strong people. They matter in their community. They matter on these issues. And in fact, the new area of cabinet responsibility that we put in place, energy and our electricity and renewable energy, is incredibly important for Alberta right now. I'm so pleased that Don has agreed to take that on. We are very proud of our record in Alberta as being a strong energy economy, but there is no doubt that as we go around the world and we actually have conversations with people with respect to what's going on in energy, that they want to make sure that we're cutting edge with respect to greening of the grid, supporting renewables, and ensuring that electricity is what it needs to be for Alberta and external markets. And so we think it's important to emphasize that as a specific cabinet responsibility. I thought it was quite funny this week that some in the opposition thought it was a bad idea because it meant that we weren't making it important, and others thought that it was. I mean, I think that just shows how little understanding the opposition has as to the importance of this in our record, and we want to make sure that we're profiling that. So I'm pleased that Don is doing that.
What will the public safety portfolio do specifically?
Well, you'll know Rick Fraser's background is as a paramedic, and he's been very involved as a caucus member and also in the recovery piece in High River with emergency response. And so we've asked him to take on responsibility working with Minister Dennis to take a look at Alberta Emergency Management Agency to make sure that it's as strong as it needs to be. We're really proud of the work that public servants did both in Slave Lake and in the floods this year, but we want to make sure it's as robust as possible. And the fact that Rick has that background in emergency response is going to allow him to take some leadership and make sure it's as strong as it needs to be for Albertans.
Philosophically, how do you see this cabinet working compared to the last one in terms of what they're able to bring to the table?
Well, one of the things I'm really proud about in this cabinet, as I was thinking about what we might want to do, is that we have a cabinet that has delivered for Albertans already, and that's why everyone who was in the last cabinet is in this cabinet. These are a group of strong men and women who've done incredibly well in terms of delivering on the commitments that we made 2 years ago. Of course, over time, we get to see people's strengths and opportunities and also talk to ministers about what their interests and their passions are. And so as we move forward, I think that we have a great mix of people that have renewed enthusiasm for new areas of responsibility and also have ministers that are continuing on to deliver on the commitments that we've made. So it's a good mix. It's a bit of a revitalization, a little bit of new blood, and I think it's going to be fun.
Why did you see you need to change?
Sorry, I can't do you both at once.
The new portfolio of job skills, training, labor, what's your intention with that?
Well, it'll be what Thomas's intention is with it. You know, as Minister of Advanced Education, in Thomas's previous work with employment and immigration, as it then was, it's always been something that Thomas has talked about in terms of emphasizing the fact that we have to build a stronger skilled workforce, and that comes through immigration, it comes through skills development, it comes through ensuring that our technical colleges are providing the programs that are responsive. And so it made sense to us to give Thomas, who has such a passion for this area and an understanding and such a good relationship with post-secondary institutions, with trade unions, the opportunity to put that all together and to really emphasize the importance of skills. You know, we continue to need far more people than we have in this province, and they will come from other parts of the country, they will come from other parts of the world, but there will also be a lot of people in our province that we want to encourage to develop skills that industry wants to put partnerships in place to train people for. And so it's exciting, it's important, and it's fundamental to our future.
Premier, how would you describe the relationship between your government and the new minister of that portfolio with organized labor, considering the legal challenge that they've mounted and the bully campaign that they have mounted?
Well, there's lots of different labor organizations in the province, and there's lots of people working in the province. Some of those people happen to be a member of one organized labor union, the AUPE, public servants, and we're very proud of our public servants and respect them deeply. But in terms of relationships with lots of different labor organizations, including building trades, we have very strong relationships, and Thomas certainly does, and many people do in caucus. I certainly do. You know, we respect the right that AUPE is taking the steps that they are taking. We continue to think that the best way through this is to actually negotiate. We're a government that's about outcome, and I don't think going to court gets you the outcome that you really want if what your concern is to make sure that you're providing stability to workers. That's what we want to do. We hope that AUPE will come back to the table and that we'll be able to get an agreement by the end of January.
On a caucus issue, Peter Sandu has been accepted back into the Tory caucus. How does he meet your standards for being an ethical politician?
Well, the first thing Peter did is when he knew there was an issue, he stepped back. And the next thing he did is he asked the ethics commissioner to take a look at that, and the ethics commissioner ruled. And you know that report, and we were pleased to see that report. We were very pleased that he made that decision, and as we said to him, as a caucus, and I might let the whip speak to this as well, that once we knew that those issues were resolved, that caucus could then make that consideration, and caucus did make that consideration.
Even though there wasn't punishment, you broke the rules 6
Well,
times. How does that meet your standards?
that is your interpretation of the decision. If I read the ethics commissioner's report, he very clearly said that Peter Sandu did the right thing, and from our perspective, that's important. We respect the office of the ethics commissioner. We always have respected the office of the ethics commissioner, and it's important for us to have taken that report into account.
The ethics commissioner also suggested that if you had gone to him with your own situation and the tobacco litigation, it might have spared the investigation. Can you comment on that?
Well, I'll tell you that I doubt it would have, first of all, because we asked for that investigation, and we asked for it because we were getting very unreasonable comments from the opposition, and that's fine. We cleared the air with respect to that. I think that the ethics commissioner's comment is true, and that is in the normal course of the business of an MLA. MLAs should and do go to ethics commissioners when they have the opportunity and they think there's an issue. At the time, I didn't believe there was an issue and therefore did not go to the ethics commissioner. I still don't believe there was an issue. The ethics commissioner's report has now confirmed that, and so I wouldn't disagree with him in terms of what his perspective might be, but in terms of the dynamics, I think we took all the appropriate steps.
Have you recused yourself, do you think?
No.
Why switch up the deputy premier position?
Well, I think that, you know, we've always had as a history the ability to respond to particular areas of interest for people. Since I've become the leader, we've had now 3 deputy premiers. Deputy premier is a leadership role in caucus. It's also a leadership role in the community, and it also depends on the workload of different people. And so for me, it's not at all out of the ordinary to continue to ask different people to take on that responsibility. Doug Horner had that at the beginning, then Thomas had it, now Dave has it. They're all incredible men. They've all done great jobs, and it's just part of our tradition in our government.
Are you concerned about the relationship your new Labour minister has with the federal immigration minister?
No, not at all. I mean, I think that both the federal minister and Thomas are people that understand that our objective has to be to enhance immigration levels in the province of Alberta. I haven't had a chance to speak to Thomas about this yet, but I did have a meeting with the Prime Minister, a discussion with the Prime Minister when I was in South Africa, and I continued to push that file. It's going to be important for us to deal with that, and I think we'll be able to get some progress on it. I'm sure Thomas can do that.
One last question.
What about your trip to South Africa? Can you tell us about that?
My gosh, I think I was on the ground for 40 hours, and it was quite incredible for me because I haven't been back there for 10 years. And to be able to be at the FNB Stadium, which is a stadium where I used to go to attend ANC political rallies as a development worker and working for the European Union, it was quite surreal to be in a stadium where I knew that Mandela wasn't going to get up on the stage. And that was really hard. That impacted me more than I thought it would. But it was incredible to be there with people who all felt so touched by such an incredible man. And it was really fascinating and heartening for me to hear people say the same things over and over again about him. Quite honestly, for me personally, it was a little bit of a reminder as to why public service matters, why so many of us get involved, and frankly, how blessed we are in this province and in this country. You know, there's lots of issues that we talk about here that are very important to people in Alberta, and I would never undermine those. But there are certainly a lot of countries around the world that have faced much more difficult circumstances that we have, and certainly still do face those circumstances. And it was a bit of a reminder for me that while we as a government need to continue to do better and have to ensure that we are committed to the quality of life of Albertans, that maybe it's not bad to just take a moment and sit back and think about how blessed we are. You know, the Lieutenant Governor talked about how this is a cabinet that will continue the traditions of peace and democracy and governance, and those are words that in Canada we throw off the cuff pretty quickly. But it was a bit of a reminder for me, having been there much earlier, just how much we need to appreciate those and value those. We need to respect the institutions of Parliament and the court, and we need to know that that public service matters, and that we're very blessed to be Canadians and Albertans.
Sorry, one last question about the Ethics Commissioner's report on the tobacco litigation. You repeatedly said you did not make the decision. The Ethics Commissioner ruled that you did. How do you explain the difference between those two
I have
statements?
I think it's very important that we took this report to the Ethics Commissioner. I am pleased with the results, and I'm not commenting any further on it. I'm not commenting.